It will probably come as a huge shock to everyone, but I'm not much of a sports guy. However, I am a sucker for a great sports movie, and to some degree, that's what I was expecting when I started watching Ben Affleck's new film, Air. But instead, I got an incredible film about entrepreneurship, risk-taking, and a heroic story of capitalism creating an immense amount of value. For Nike, for Michael Jordan, for millions and millions of customers and fans, and for the recipients of the philanthropy that eventually flowed from the multi-billion-dollar brand that is Air Jordan. There's a lot about this movie that surprised me, but what I want to talk to you all about is actually a bit more philosophical. On the surface, Air is just a dramatic version of the fascinating story behind the creation of the insanely popular Air Jordan sneaker. But more than that, it offers some incredible insights about business, both in terms of how great companies and products come into being in the first place, and also how fragile they really are. Without the right vision, the right people, and an enduring commitment to entrepreneurial innovation, even the biggest and most well-established companies can fail. Hi, I'm Sean. I'm a filmmaker and producer, and you're watching Create and Destroy. Air stars Matt Damon as John Paul Vincent Sonny Vaccaro, a marketing executive working for Nike in 1984. Vaccaro was hired to help grow their struggling basketball division by convincing pro ballers to endorse Nike's shoes. Unfortunately, Nike was getting crushed by vastly more popular brands like Adidas. So Vaccaro pitches a revolutionary idea: spend the department's entire sponsorship budget on convincing a rookie playing for the Chicago Bulls named Michael Jordan to endorse Nike by building a brand new shoe line around his identity.
I don't want to sign 3 players. I want to sign one. I want to sign him.
In spite of having a lower promotions budget and less cultural cachet, Vaccaro thought that Nike had a better shot competing for Jordan's endorsement by making him the star of their lineup, instead of him just being another name alongside players like Magic Johnson and Larry Bird at Converse or Adidas. Of course, the first challenge was getting Nike's CEO, Phil Knight, on board. But the more difficult issue was convincing Michael Jordan, who had zero interest in working with Nike, to even take a meeting with him. A problem for which Sonny Vaccaro had an equally radical solution: bypass Jordan's agent entirely and go straight to his most important influencer, his mom, played by Viola Davis. Air's driving theme is about taking creative risks, even inside a corporate environment increasingly run by a board of directors too afraid of failure to remember how to be entrepreneurs.
You have to be accountable. You're accountable. We're all accountable. I'm accountable to the board.
I told you not to go public. I told you this would happen. You get tight, you change. It just happens at every company.
Does it? All the companies you've taken
all
public.
All they care about is the P&L statement and keeping the board happy.
What's really great about the film is how effectively it shows two things. One, the essence of entrepreneurial thinking is an exercise in creativity and innovation. And two, the trajectory of virtually all institutions is to get less comfortable with risks as they grow, leading them to become less innovative and more reactionary. This conflict of visions is something that I think most people who interact with large corporations and with government agencies at every level tend to experience and instinctively resist. Air shows this tension perfectly.
I can't justify that to the board, so there's no point in having this discussion.
Yeah, okay, it's risky. When you were selling sneakers out of the back of your Plymouth, that was risky. It took balls. I mean, that's why we're all here. Don't change that now.
Even the companies that we all still associate with entrepreneurship and innovation, like Apple, Google, or Pixar, have gotten considerably less creative and innovative over time. As they've grown, they've become more bureaucratic and risk-averse. And honestly, the longer you live, the more you'll see this pattern play out over and over again. A lot of people assume that big corporations are basically indestructible, but the truth is, if you look at the Fortune 500 list, there's roughly a 50% turnover in which companies are on it every 10 years. And if you expand your view to a longer time horizon, the turnover is even more significant. In 2016, Mark Perry did a study of the list and found just 12% of companies were even still on it at all after 60 years. Tons of companies that once dominated their respective markets, like Studebaker, Kmart, or Blockbuster Video, got pushed out of the market over time, not because of regulation, but because of creative entrepreneurs. Even companies like Walmart, that people used to call a dangerous monopoly just 10 to 15 years ago, now face serious competition. My argument is that this corporate life cycle is exactly what we should expect to see within any relatively free market. As an entrepreneur starting a new business, you have to be obsessively focused on finding ways to produce and distribute an innovative product inside extremely constrained environments. You won't have enough resources. You'll have to do most every job yourself, including all the ones that you're not that good at. You'll probably have no time in your life for anything other than work. And you'll either be competing with well-established companies that already serve your niche, or you'll be trying to create a new market for a product or service nobody has even heard of yet. Neither option is easy to do, and you'll only succeed to the extent that you've genuinely created value for consumers who could easily choose to spend their money on something else. The whole thing takes a tremendous degree of creativity and perseverance, and the confidence to take huge risks, knowing that failure could mean losing everything. But once a company has gotten over those initial hurdles, and to be clear, about 90% of startups fail, executives will usually start focusing less on innovation and more on stability. It's not enough to simply make a shoe a lot of people want to wear. To become a multi-billion-dollar corporation, you have to establish processes that can be easily replicated and organizational structures that work for thousands of employees at a time. So, corporations stop taking risks. Stop devoting lots of time and energy into product development and new ideas, and they pay more attention to loss avoidance.
I'll tell you what, if you want to go start your own company,
My own company, that's what
I wish you luck.
My own company.
You can be impetuous, you can make mistakes, you can be reckless, but let me tell you how we do things at this company. We make careful, strategic, measured, thoughtful decisions with knowable outcomes.
Right, knowable and thoughtful and careful. How'd you ever build this place, Phil?
You can see in that scene how Phil Knight is motivated by fear. I think this predictable shift in mentality over time is also why you see big companies consistently lobbying in favor of regulation and government intervention in their industries. Those regulations are almost always written to benefit the giant corporations, making it expensive for smaller companies to comply with the rules, thus making it harder for new startups to compete. Economists call this regulatory capture, but it's hardly a new phenomenon. Adam Smith's whole critique of mercantilism was essentially a rejection of this kind of behavior, and it really is the antithesis of capitalism as a concept. The less free a given sector of the market is, the easier it will always be for well-connected companies to use the law to insulate themselves from competition. What's insane to me is how many people think the solution to this problem is to give the state even more power, even though they should absolutely know that it'll be used to benefit special interests and political cronies. You also have to remember that the same shift from agile innovation to protectionism that plays out in private companies also happens inside government agencies. As agencies grow, they get more bureaucratic and entrenched, protecting their power and perpetuating their jobs instead of serving taxpayers. But unlike private companies, there's no entrepreneurial disruption or creative destruction, the idea for which this series is named, that will come in and replace bad government. Most agencies just keep getting bigger, no matter how badly they do their jobs or how much money they waste. So that's definitely not the answer. If we want companies to focus on creating products and services that benefit consumers, all we have to do is just let the market function. When that happens, the products and services, and even entire business models that consumers actually like will grow, while bad products and losing business models will fade away. And that's ultimately what AIR is really about. In 1984, Nike wasn't the giant behemoth it is today. It was the entrepreneurial upstart trying to shake up the industry. And the deal they made with Michael Jordan to give him a cut of the profits from the Air Jordan line was groundbreaking. In the postscript of the film, we learn that Sonny Vaccaro also played a major role in the landmark Supreme Court case O'Bannon versus NCAA, which supported athlete compensation at the collegiate level.
Just like when I was a kid and players were treated like
indentured servants?
Yes!
In the end, the entrepreneurial thinking inside Nike came at a crucial moment, making the company billions of dollars and disrupting the entire athletic apparel industry in the process.
Bucket, we should do it.
The board's never gonna do that. This never happened before. You'd be putting yourself in a real bad spot. They could call for your removal.
If this guy is who you think he's gonna be, it'll be the best thing that ever happened to this company, and it'll be worth every penny. Let me worry about the fucking board.
That's pretty cool, and definitely worth watching a movie about. Thanks for watching this episode of Create and Destroy. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and let me know what movies you'd like me to talk about in the comments. If you don't want to miss out, be sure to subscribe and turn your notifications on. I'll see you next time.